with people in anything that you're doing that's constructive. You interact with people. The question is, how do you interact with people? You interact with people, first of all, from where they are. And you make sure that when you interact with anybody, it's for the most constructive purpose. Now, it's two words to keep in mind: problem solving, because in my opinion, I could be incorrect, but the logic shows that everybody on this planet was put here with the mission of problem solving. Now, a lot of people have decided they're going to use that time to make problems, and that's very unfortunate. But how did I come to the conclusion we're put here to solve problems? That's because we have problems. So the way you approach black people when you're talking to them about racism, which I say is the biggest problem that the world has ever seen, even in 2014, it's the biggest problem on this planet right now is racism. If anybody has a problem, it's because of the system of racism, because that's the only government on the planet. Now, so if a person doesn't want to talk about the biggest problem on the planet that's causing all of their problems, because everybody has problems, all of these people who are saying they don't want to talk about racism, but they'll turn right around and say that they got a problem. And if they're
exactly.
black and they're walking on this planet and they're saying, oh, yeah, I got a whole lot of problems, but I don't have time to talk about racism, well, you're not really solving your problem, because that is the cause of every problem you have ever had. If you're black and you're breathing on this planet right now, that is the cause of every problem you have ever had since you have been on this planet. Now, that statement is either true or false. Now, but maybe that's not the way to talk about it. If a person doesn't want to talk about it, you can't force people to listen to you, and you shouldn't just walk away and leave the problem there because it just continues. You're trying to solve the problem because that's the mission. That's everybody's mission. That's my mission. Trying to solve the biggest problems and then after that start working on the smaller problems. So, how do you approach it? You say, okay, Willie, you don't want to talk about racism. You say you're tired of hearing it and all like that, and tired of having people whine to you about it, and it's a boring topic, and you just rather talk about baseball or football or something else because you're tired of hearing all this racism this and racism that, and you're sick of it. And the person is telling the truth, and they maybe should be, but they still have the problem. So what's the best way to talk about it? You talk about it by talking about whatever that person's problem is. That's the answer. That's the compensatory procedure. I do not mention racism to someone who doesn't want to talk about racism. I don't try to force conversation. I'll say, okay, you don't want to talk about racism. What do you want to talk about? We're standing here now, and you want to talk about something. What do you want to talk about? That's the question. And whatever the person says should be okay with you, because they're going to be talking about something that has to do, sooner or later, with a problem that they're having. And that's going to lead to a discussion about racism, and you wait for them to bring it up. They'll be talking about, well, I got fired off that job, and I got fired off of this job, and I got fired off that other job. Okay, it's question time. Well, why did you get fired? Well, they act like they don't want no black people working over there in that warehouse. I mean, because every time it looks like wait a minute. You told me you didn't want to talk about racism. Didn't you just tell me you did not want to talk about racism? Well, yeah, I told you that, but I mean, that's all that stuff that you're talking, but I'm talking about my job. Wait a minute. You just said that they didn't want to hire black people over there, or they didn't want black people working over there, and that's how you lost your last job. Didn't you just tell me that, Willie? Now we're getting somewhere. See, wait for them to bring it up, because they're going to bring it up. If you're black and on this planet, you're going to bring up the subject of racism if you're at least a bit sober, unless you're high on something. You're going to bring it up sooner or later because it dominates every move that you make, and you can't run away from it. You're going to have to deal with it. So if you don't want to talk about it in terms of white and non-white, the scientific way of talking about it so that it makes you feel better, talk about justice. Justice means guaranteeing that nobody's mistreated. Because if you start talking about guaranteeing that nobody's mistreated, you're going to be talking about racism anyway without even mentioning it. I used to do that when I was on the job. I would be a person who would be the last person to talk about racism, even though I'm chomping at the bit to talk about racism. I would just talk about justice because that's the easy way of talking about racism. A white supremacist who is sitting around that table and you start talking about justice, they know that you're talking about racism, but they are not going to interject it at some point unless they get angry and lose their temper. Because then they may raise the question around that table. They're saying, are you saying that we're prejudiced here? Are you saying that I'm a racist? And you say, sir, no, I didn't say that. I'm talking about justice. I'm talking about people being mistreated. And there are certain people here in this warehouse who are being mistreated. And I'm one of them. And I will cite the details of the mistreatment. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. And unless we believe in mistreatment here at this illustrious institution, sir, and always be polite. Always be polite. Don't shout. Don't curse. Don't name call. And certainly don't accuse anybody of being racist. Just talk about mistreatment. Who's being mistreated? And who is not getting what they should be getting, meaning the help, the constructive help that you should be getting. That's how you do it on a job. Don't even mention racism. Wait for somebody else to bring it up. Because sooner or later, all roads are going to lead to racism anyway.
Yeah, because I have black people that are religious, that are Christians, and they will say it, but they say, well, I'm just going to leave it in Jesus Christ's hands, or the Lord will take care of it. They'll say something like that.
Okay, let's stop right there. When they say that, then they'll say, okay, what do you mean by you believe in Jesus Christ taking care of it? See, all you need to do is just ask questions. The questions and answers will take you right where you need to go anyway. You don't ever get frustrated in any conversation with anybody because all you have to do is ask enough questions, and when enough answers come, and don't help people with the answers. That's another thing. Never help a person with the answer. If a person makes a statement, well, Jesus will take care of it, then say, okay, Jesus will take care of it. Okay, by doing what? And is there anything that Jesus wants you to do? That's 2 questions. And then sit back and wait. And I'll guarantee you that the kind of answers that you get will lead that person to right where you need them to go. I'll guarantee you, all you got to do is just keep asking enough questions. And you will know what questions to ask by the last thing that the person said. Just like the illustration you just gave. This is the way it will work. The person will say, I don't want to talk about all that race stuff. I'm a Christian, and Jesus will take care of me. Okay? Well, Jesus will take care of you in order for you to do what? Now, that's a question. Why is Jesus taking care of you? And what does Jesus want you to do while you're being taken care of? Is there anything Jesus wants you to do? And don't leap into the answer with them. Don't help them with the answer. Let them give you the exact answer of about what Jesus wants them to do. And just wait.
Oh.
And then when they answer that question, then ask another question. And then ask another question. Because all solutions to every problem in the universe is a process of nothing but questions and answers. That's a law of the entire universe that was put here by the creator of the universe. Questions and answers. It'll take you right where you need to go.